gonna hide the water bottles if you're wondering what I'm doing. I hope third time's the charm, because if not, I'm quitting. Spooky Sunday dinners, spooky Sunday dinners, spooky Sunday dinners. I still can't afford a theme song. Hi, for those of you that don't know, my name is Johnny, and this is Spooky Sunday Dinners, where every Sunday, every other Sunday, maybe when I'm late Monday, still feeling that Thursday, we talk about a true crime case that I just really want to fucking talk about while we make a fairly easy meal. So if true crime, cooking, and dark humor is your thing, you might want to hit that subscribe button below. But hey, we're back. Yes, I know I missed last week, but really, I didn't. This is my 5th try filming this. So if I get bored with this story halfway through, it's because I'm over it. But really, this is my 5th attempt at filming this particular video, so if I don't know it by now, fuck. And yeah, my hair's different. I know, my hair guy's amazing. He'll be linked below. But just wait for the final product. Just hold on to your panties for a second. Now that I've vented about my life enough, you know what time it is. It has to be done. It's Karen disclaimer time. Disclaimer number 1. These are not professional recipes. I do not have the nutritional facts, and these are not really for nutritional value. It's just what I feel like making that night. So if you make this and you don't like it, or you fuck up and get sick, it's not my problem. These are not professional recipes. We are talking mediocre at best. Disclaimer number 2. This is spooky Sunday dinners. Emphasis on spooky. We talk about spooky shit. True crime, murder, disease, all the good stuff, while we sprinkle a nice little bit of comedy on top, because that's how I cope with being obsessed with something so fucking dark. So before you come for me, email me, DM me, call, or text me, get a sense of humor, Karen. We really need it right now. Cool, I guess it's time to just jump into this one. This week we have a very special case that was actually suggested to us by Doug, so you know I'm already excited for this shit. So this week, we're finally doing it. We're finally talking about it. The one and only, the infamous OJ. We're talking about OJ. That's right, guys. We're diving into it. And I think we all somewhat know this case. But if you don't, buckle the fuck up, Susie. And while we talk about the fucked upness that is the OJ case, we are going to be making the simplest, easiest quarantine shrimp tacos. Now, before you come for me about shit being traditional and all that, shut up. This is a super easy, super good quarantine shrimp taco recipe. If you would just hold on for a second, you would see that it's good and you would like it. So just chill out. I'm going to go into what we're going to be using today, but it's also going to be in the description below. First things first, some shrimp. We have some deli shrimp this week, so we'll see if it's better than our Whole Foods frozen stuff. Some diced tomatoes, reusable bitch. Queso of your choice. This is mine. This is Doug's. Do you guys like how big this is? I got it for him as a surprise. Some chipotle peppers in adobo, fresh avocado, lemon and lime. I will be using some vegan mayo. This is because we're going to top these tacos with a really nice, simple chipotle sauce. This is going to be my base for it. You can use any mayo bullshit like this you want. This is what I'm using. It's good. Because I can't go a day without a zucchini. Or olive oil. Tortillas of your choice. I got these cute little taco ones. And finally, our spices. This week we are going to use salt, pepper, garlic powder, smoked paprika, basil, and chili powder. Season your fucking food. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is actually create a marinade for this shrimp. It can sit in there anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. We're probably just gonna do a quick 10 to 15. I'm gonna take the tails off the shrimp and let's talk about OJ. All right, so O.J. Simpson, whose name actually is Orenthal James Simpson, was born on July 9th of 1947. He was born in San Francisco, California, and his parents' names were Eunice and Jimmy Lee Simpson. A really fun fact, actually, OJ's father later became a super well-known drag queen in the San Francisco area, so the more you know. For this marinade, I'm just gonna go in with some olive oil, our diced tomato, salt, pepper, garlic, basil, and finish it with some lemon juice. It sounds more complicated than it is. Calm down. OJ actually has 3 siblings, 2 that are living, a brother and sister, and a deceased sister. OJ's parents ended up separating in 1952, and he was mainly raised by his mother. He grew up in the projects of the San Francisco area and had somewhat of a troubled kind of start. He joined a street gang when he was super young and ended up getting arrested 3 times. After that last arrest, they actually set up this weird meet and greet intervention talk thing with Willie Mays, where the famous baseball star convinced OJ to get his fucking shit together and turn his life around. This now turns into OJ playing football in high school and then moving on to play for the junior college All-American team. At that time, he was going to school at City College of San Francisco and then finally ending up at USC. He was also an aspiring track athlete at this time. Clearly didn't really work out. Now that I've got all those seasonings in there, I'm just gonna top it with a pretty good amount of lemon juice. I'm gonna put the lid on this, shake it around, and then don't fucking think about it. As we know, OJ went on to be a star pro football player. He played for both the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers. This is where he got his nickname, The Juice. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1985. He broke records, blah, blah, blah. We are not here to celebrate this motherfucker's wins. This is just a backstory. Honestly, fuck you, OJ. He ended up from there becoming an actor, starting a couple things. You can look it up if you want to. And in 1979, actually started a production company that made made-for-TV movies. So OJ originally married a woman by the name of Marguerite L. Whitley, who was absolutely gorgeous. Everyone talks about her like she's the best woman, which she had to put up with a lot, so you go, girl. And they had 3 children together. But in 1977, while they were still married, OJ meets a beautiful young woman by the name of Nicole Brown. We're going to get a little bit more into that story later, but basically he was married. He started having a romantic relationship with Nicole, and they ended up getting married in 1985. This was about 5 years after he started playing pro football. So, Nicole Brown. Nicole Brown was actually born May of 1959 in Germany. She was born to Judy and Lou Brown. Her mother was from Germany and her father was from the US. They decided to move back to the US when Nicole was in her teens, and she ended up attending 2 different high schools in the California area. This young woman was only 18 years old when she met OJ. And they actually met while she was a kind of waitress at this private club, social club thing in Beverly Hills called the Daisy. I don't know, I guess it was poppin'. If you've been there, comment below. Nicole Brown and O.J. Simpson were married for 7 years. They had 2 children, and throughout their marriage, O.J. was investigated for domestic violence so many fucking times, you guys. I can always count on you. Still giving me gas. But O.J. was investigated for domestic violence numerous times. The police came to their home like a total of 8 times throughout their marriage. And guess what? OJ was arrested 0 times. But I wonder how many of those times those cops got an autograph. How's it going, LAPD? How you doing? Yeah? So clearly, because of this, Nicole files for divorce in 1992. They do get back together for a short period of time, but ultimately just completely cut it off. And for the next 2 years, her life just basically revolves around all of the stalking and harassing and bullshit she has to put up with OJ. There's even a 911 call you can look up and listen to where she's clearly fearing for her life. She is not safe. And it just feels like nobody's really doing anything about it. Even the 911 operator is like, oh, the sports reporter guy. Like, they just didn't take it seriously. And it just shows, like, when you're that celebrity status, you could be beating the shit out of your wife and people still see you as the juice. Okay, let's prep this zucchini and get into it, guys. So on the evening of Sunday, June 12th of 1994, Nicole Brown, who was 35 at the time, along with her friend Ron Goldman, were found stabbed to death outside of Nicole's home. Nicole was found in the fetal position in a pool of her own blood. Also, I cut so slow and it looks so ridiculous because my knives are dull as shit. That's also why I can dance with her. But don't think I don't know what I'm doing. They're just fucking... I'm cutting this with a butter knife right now. The autopsy showed that Nicole had been stabbed 27 times in the neck and scalp. She also had a bunch of defensive wounds on her hands. But the wound I want to get into is actually the 14 centimeter long gash across her neck. A lot of people describe it as like her throat was slashed, but it is so much more than that. It severed both her right and left carotid arteries and, quote, breached both her right and left jugular veins. It penetrated a depth of 3/4 of an inch into her cervical vertebrae. And they could tell at the angle in which it was done, she was actually face down. Someone came up behind her, held her up by the back of her head, holding her hair, and then reached around her head with the knife to her neck. Now, think what you want, say what you want, but you will not be able to convince me that this is not the direct result of somebody trying to decapitate this woman. Go ahead, try. You can tell that this attack was personal as fuck. The amount of force and strength and just fucking pure psycho passion it would take to inflict those injuries upon somebody is terrifying. So the zucchini is cut. I'm going to start on this Chipotle sauce. What we're going to do is just start with about 1/4 cup of this vegan mayo while we slowly add some Chipotle peppers in adobo. Now you can either start by adding like pieces of the pepper or like the thick juice that's in there. It just depends how spicy you want it because it can get super fucking spicy. This sauce is really easy to make. You just throw it in a food processor and let it do its thing. You guys, this is food processor number 2. The first time I tried to make this, I cracked my food processor, the whole bottom of it. I broke it for you. So the story goes, Nicole and her mother were dining at a popular restaurant called Mesaluna in California, and this is where her friend Ron was working at the time. They left the restaurant, but they noticed that Nicole's mom left her glasses there. They call after some kind of intense searching. They find the glasses, and Ron says, hey, I'll just take them to you as soon as my shift is over. Ron and Nicole had met about 6 weeks before they were murdered, and they made it a point to let everybody know that their relationship was completely platonic. At one point, he was borrowing Nicole's car and told a friend they were just friends, that's all it was. They loved to go on coffee dates, they loved to go like lunch dates, out dancing, the whole 9 yards, the whole thing. Some people say that Ron and Nicole were in a relationship. Other people say that they have confirmed info that Ron is actually gay. I think that what we can learn from this story is that it's none of our fucking business. Okay, now we're gonna go in with the smoked paprika and chili powder and just blend that all together until you get the consistency and the flavor that you like. This sauce is really a two-taste situation. It depends on how spicy you like it, all that good shit. So Ron clocked out of work at about 9:33 that night. He stopped at the bar and had a couple glasses of water for about 15 minutes and headed out to his apartment, actually. He stopped at his apartment in Brentwood for maybe like 30-ish minutes and actually made plans with his roommate to go out later that night once he dropped off the glasses. Investigators say that they're pretty sure he came up on Nicole getting attacked, tried to save her, and that's how he got attacked. So I can already tell this is going to be a little thick for my taste. So I'm going to go in with like a teaspoon at a time of just water until it's going to be how I like it. I don't know. It's also really interesting because some witnesses say that they did hear Ron screaming where the attack was happening. A couple of interesting points I'd like to make are that we do know that OJ went to that house that night for an unknown reason. We also know that the entire time this attack was happening, Nicole and OJ's kids were in that home and could hear the whole thing happening. Last thing we're going to do for that sauce is just take some lime juice. Again, to taste, I'm probably just going to juice like half the lime in there. Please make sure to roll your citrus before you use it. I'm tired of you not doing that. Another thing we do know is that LAPD totally shit on this entire case. Walking through pools and trails of blood, there was some very clear bloody fingerprints on like doorknobs and stuff that they didn't take that night. And by the time the cleaners came and, changed out doorknobs, cleaned everything up, they totally missed the ball on getting prime things like that because LAPD. All right, ingredients are all together. I'm just going to put the lid and do the thing. Cool, now I'm going to take my like shorter, wider pan, get it super hot with some olive oil and garlic, and throw my zucchini in there and saute it a little bit. Another very interesting thing I'd like to point out is that night after the attack, OJ actually left town and headed out to a Hertz convention. I think it was in Chicago. Don't quote me on that. But Hertz, like the rental car company, he was actually the face of that company at that time. And it took LAPD like 4 days for them to even say that OJ was a person of interest in this case. Now, it's said that at this time, when they realized he's a person of interest, OJ's attorney, Robert Kardashian, yes, put it together, cool, moving on, actually went to OJ's home and disposed of what they believe was the murder weapon and OJ's bloody clothes. I mean, honestly, what a phenomenal attorney. I wish I had that kind of representation. If you're that kind of attorney, comment below. So Robert Kardashian and the rest of OJ's defense counsel, we will get into that later, convince him that he needs to come back, turn himself in, talk to the press. OJ's like, okay, I will do it. This is where he heads back and they hold like a press conference thing. Now, of course, if you know, OJ doesn't show up to the press conference. He actually sends Robert Kardashian this long, ridiculous suicide note that Robert reads to the press, like to the media, and begs OJ to turn himself in. And I know you've been waiting for it. This is where they realize OJ is in the white Bronco, and the APB for the white Bronco goes out at 6:30 p.m. that evening. So another driver sees the white Bronco and tries to go up to it. And the driver sees that OJ is not driving the Bronco. It's actually his longtime friend, AC Cowlings, who actually was like a pro football player with OJ. And that person calls the police. An officer gets close to the car, catches up to it. I say catches up to it, but they were literally going 35 miles an hour on the 405. AC ends up yelling to that police officer like, hey, I've got OJ in the back of the car. He's got a gun to his head. Back off. The police officer backs off. Now there's like 20 cop cars and helicopters at a safe distance from the car. It's all over the news. This shit breaks the fucking world. It interrupts the 1994 NBA Finals, a couple of other like really important sports shit. And because of this, it's said that this chase was broadcast to roughly 95 million people. He finally decides to have AC drive him home, okay? He sits in the car for another 45 minutes outside of his home. From here, he walks into his home so that he can call his mother and have a glass of orange juice. I shit you not. I hate this man. So they surrender the Bronco to the police department. They find out that it's got $8,000 cash, a loaded .357 mag, passport, family photos, changes of clothes, but my personal favorite, a fucking disguise. Like a mustache goatee disguise. Like nobody's gonna know that you're OJ. It's just a whole bad made-for-TV movie. But pretty much, we all know that he was not going to commit suicide. This feels so performative for me. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch any of this news coverage. I wasn't alive yet. But this just seems fake as fuck. Sus as fuck. I don't like it. But as you know, this trial is fucking huge. It was on the cover of the LA Times for 300 days. It was on every news channel, late night TV, ate it up. You probably already know this because maybe you were alive for this, but Jay Leno had the dancing idos on his show, where it was basically this like group of professional dancers that were dressed as Judge Lance Ito, and they just like performed numbers as him, and that's absolutely awful. He also had like an opening theme song for it to the tune of Gilligan's Island. I feel like this shit just shaped pop culture, and it totally desensitized us to these true crime cases like this, and it's wild to me. Like, wow, I wasn't alive to see it. I'm sorry. I'm shook. Be sure to flip your zucchini before we start the shrimp. Also, do you like my new utensils? I'll be sure to link these in my Amazon store. I'm obsessed with them. They can get a lot hotter than my original ones, and they're really cute. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to those zucchinis and let them finish cooking. So our shrimp has marinated for long enough. We're just going to take this and throw it into a pan at like medium-high heat. So OJ's defense counsel, the whole team actually included Johnnie Cochran, Robert Kardashian, Robert Shapiro, and F. Lee Bailey. Now before you go there, because everyone asks, I know it's spelled the same. No, I'm not named after Johnnie Cochran. I'm named after my dad, Johnny, who's way cooler. Marcia Clark was the lead prosecutor for the state of California, and to be completely honest, I'm not a fan of any of these people. I feel like OJ's defense counsel team, whatever, just ran circles around these prosecutors and brought up the dumbest fucking points ever, and angry. So the evidence against OJ actually included blood in the Bronco from what is believed to be a defensive wound on his hand, 2 blood-soaked socks that they found in OJ's home, all of the past 911 calls and domestic violence reports, and all of the evidence saying that Nicole Brown was fearing for her life at this time. And of course, did you think I would forget it? The fucking gloves. The left glove was found outside of Nicole's home, and the right glove was found outside of OJ's home. Now, at this time, DNA results showed genetic material consistent with both victims and Simpson on these gloves. Now, what really sucks about this is that LAPD dropped the fucking ball. So 1, the glove was soaked in blood, which caused it to shrink. 2, they actually froze the glove because they thought that that would like preserve the DNA at that time, which caused it to shrink even more. Johnnie Cochran knew exactly what they were going to do, and 2 weeks before this had OJ stop taking his arthritis medication. Because of this, his hands blew up like a balloon, and of course, in a court of law, the glove didn't fit. This is where we get the Famous quote, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." How long do you think he rehearsed that in the mirror, trying to find the right rhyme? I hate that we have the same name. Like, he's dead and RIP, and I'm sorry, but you get it. So with all that evidence, how did they fuck it up? Well, Cochran and Bailey ended up finding out that the lead investigator on this case, his name was Mark Furman, was a fucking racist piece of shit. They had like 43 times that he said terrible racial slurs and terrible things about people of different races. I'm not going to repeat them. They're disgusting. If you'd like to look them up, do your thing. And later, while the jury was absent, they actually asked Mark Furman if he planted or manufactured evidence in this case. This piece of shit invoked his Fifth Amendment right and declined to answer. Beep boop bop, you're guilty. You did it. Another interesting thing is that the defense actually pushed this whole time that this DNA testing and all of this was, quote, experimental science. They said things like, how can you trust it? And the jury was like, wait, how can we trust it? We don't know this. We've never heard of this. This is new. And it totally worked. And with them fucking up and missing all those fingerprints and everything about it at this time, I'm sure that in the 90s I would have said the same thing. So as we know, on October 3rd of 1995, OJ was found not guilty, and the city of Los Angeles actually prepped for there to be riots if he was found guilty. They turned it into a story of race, and he kind of became the poster boy at this time for this subtle race war that was starting. And it sucks because it's absolutely true that there is a race bias in the justice system, but did they pick somebody that actually was guilty to be the poster boy for it and it completely sabotaged it at this time? Yes. Fuck the system. While our shrimp is finishing, and before we finish off this story, we're just gonna get a medium-sized pan, put it on medium heat, and we are going to toast our tortillas in it. Stop putting your tortillas in the microwave. Don't do it. So OJ was acquitted and went free. But in 1997, Ron Goldman's family filed a civil lawsuit against OJ for wrongful death. And what's amazing is that they actually won. They were awarded $33.5 million in, quote, damages. And I totally get what they were trying to do here. Take everything this man has, because he's taken everything from you. Also, buy a tortilla warmer. Or if you're like me, you don't know where yours came from. Probably my mom. So, because OJ couldn't have a career after this, he didn't have the money to pay back Ron's family. He ended up selling his Heisman Trophy, defaulted on his mortgage, and the Goldmans didn't give up. And I fucking love that. They actually took OJ back to court so they could obtain control over Simpson's right to publicity for the purposes of satisfying the judgment from the civil case. So basically, he couldn't sell the story to make money to pay them back. He couldn't make money on any type of book deal, interview, movie, anything, which was smart because OJ was going to publish a book called If I Did It. Well, Ron's father was actually awarded the rights to that book and published it himself, but under the title, If I Did It, Confessions of a Killer. But on the cover of the book, and I highly suggest you look this up, the if is actually so small you can't even see it. So the book really reads, I Did It, Confessions of a Killer. It's a perfect sprinkle of petty. And honestly, it's not even petty. He murdered your son for no fucking reason. And OJ is so fucked up that at one time in an interview that he couldn't even make any money off of, he really told someone, well, if I did it, wouldn't that mean I just loved her very much? Like, because he passionately loved her, it was okay to murder her. Not a thing, guys. And mind you, this entire time, this motherfucker had custody of his children. The ones that were inside the home, who heard their mother get murdered. OJ tried to make a few comebacks. They all failed and were offensive. There was a weird prank show at one time. I don't know. He's not okay. OJ did later serve time. It was like kidnapping, weapons, assault, a bunch of charges put together. And the judge did sentence him for 33 years. And when she sentenced him, it was so petty. She was like, and this has nothing to do with the crimes committed before. But you know, she was in that courtroom like, how can I fuck up OJ for life? All right, last thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna cut this free shavocado all the way around and put a couple slices on the plate. This can be a nice like build your own taco moment, and I know from the beginning of this video, the one thing you were all gonna say. Johnny, where's the cilantro? Well, bitch, I'm allergic to cilantro, so we don't have any. If you want some, go buy some. I don't wanna die today. Yet. What's interesting about that sentence is OJ actually only served 9 years of the sentence, and he was released on October 7th of 2017. Yes, he was released. All right, so to plate these, super simple. Tortilla down, shrimp next. Linked in Amazon store. Really, guys, these can get so super hot. I can fuck with stuff in the oven, and I just highly recommend it. All right, shrimp go right in there. Queso on top. We add our nice little chipotle sauce on top of that. Just drizzle a little bit on, and this is another like build your own taco moment. I would just set this up as like a little taco bar in the kitchen and let people do what the fuck they want. They want the zucchini on it. I like to add the zucchini in the taco and then the free shavocado on top of that. It's perfect. So I shit you not, OJ's free now. If you see him, tell him I said hi and fuck off. And yeah, be sure to comment below what you think about this case. Are you one of the few people that think he didn't do it when we later got to find out that he totally did do it? I'm curious, were you alive at this time and actually got to watch all of this unfold? Because if you did, please comment what it was like. Because your girl, I can't help it. I'm sorry, I wasn't alive yet. But thanks for letting me ramble today. Thanks for cooking with me. And I hope you end up using something from this recipe in the future. I know it's a little weird and not traditional, and I'm sorry we missed a week. Life got weird. I don't know what to tell you. Let's go ahead and try these and see if I did a thing. You guys make these. Just trust me. Go with it and make these. They are so good. Wow. Be sure to comment below future crimes you want me to talk about, maybe some recipes you want me to try. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, maybe the next time you see me, I'll have a camera. A quick special thank you this week to Doug for putting up with me trying to film this 5 times, letting me use his phone to film it, and suggesting the story in the first place. You rock, man. Thank you for watching Spooky Sunday Dinners. I am still singing. I still can't afford a theme song. Fruit Ninja. Dog, I made something good.